we're having. And that's because Symphonia has requested that we do so. So we have access to it. Even those who couldn't attend are able to share the content with us. So let's go for it. So the first one, guys, I just want to know, even if it's just 5 people at the most, I just want to know, when you saw this topic, beyond the pandemic, what came to mind? Anyone can respond as the first one, because I'm not seeing any hand. When you saw the topic beyond the pandemic, what came to mind? Bianca?
If I can jump in here, Sienna, I think the first thing that came to mind for me is, how will the new normal look? Because the place of work will definitely no longer be the same. And how will it impact the people? You know, there's legislation and operations on the one hand, but then there's the neurological, emotional, employee well-being type of side on the other side. So both practical as well as strategic. You know, how does it look? How does our new normal look when we return to work?
Okay, thank you. Someone else?
Zianda, it's Bianca. When I saw the topic, I thought to myself, given the fact that it's under women in leadership, you know, how do we lead ourselves, and just identifying some of the things that we are going through, and just become a bit more resilient. And I was keen to just hear from others as to what are some of the techniques and some of the things that you guys are doing, just to get through and to move forward.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Bianca. Another one?
Hi, Zianda.
Hello. Hi, Nompelo.
It's Nompelo here. For me, I was thinking, how do I reinvent myself to fit into this new world? Because how I work, I'm an independent consultant. And when you're a contractor, you're the first person to go when business is bad. So I knew, okay, I'm not going to be able to operate the way I'm operating now. How do I reinvent myself so that I continue to work in this new world?
Thank you.
Hi, Z, it's Tutu.
Hi, Tutu.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
When I saw the topic, I think more than anything that came to my mind was, am I ready for the change? How can I learn from others to be prepared for the change that is coming? That is here, not is coming, that is here already.
Thank you. The last person?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tutu.
Matsela from Port Elizabeth, Umsinsi Healthcare. Yeah, I think we have to adjust ourselves to a new way of working. I think everybody is apprehensive. Everybody is not sure of what this new world and the new way of doing things is going to look like. So I think the easiest way to help yourself is to get as much input from people as possible as to, you know, ways of working in this type of environment. You yourself said you are having to get used to working with Zoom. All of us are, because we can't see our clients. I mean, I'm in the medical industry and I'm used to sitting across the table with people, and now I have to Zoom call people, email, phone, etc., which was being done, but not in as much of a fashion as it's being done now. So we need guidance from as many people as possible as to how to, as the one previous speaker said, reinvent ourselves in this situation.
Thank you, Tebogo. There was a last hand that I'm going to give. I think it was Chanel, very last person.
Hi everyone, this is Chanel. So when I saw this topic, the thing that popped up first was there's a transformation that is required within every business, within everyone, And as a leader, trying to envision what is that supposed to look like with all this uncertainty is the first challenge. The second challenge is taking people along the journey of that transformation. And what are the techniques? What are the processes? What are other people doing? Considering the amount of uncertainty and worries. I'm in the aviation industry and flights aren't flying at the moment. So there's also a lot of fear from employees, a lot of uncertainty on when things go back, what would that look like in our area of work? And as a leader, having to take people along the journey of transformation, also not knowing where the end is sort of the biggest challenge.
Got you. I think thank you, colleagues. I think that leads us to the second slide, where I said, what does it mean to be human? And this is a question that has really bothered me personally since we started the lockdown, or rather since the pandemic started to affect South Africa. And as I sit here, there's a number of answers I have, and I was wondering whether, as a collective, we actually are pondering about this question that says, what does it mean to be human? And you would notice in the first slide, we're saying we're downloading the old patterns. So I'm using the theory U process of transformation for us to have the conversation. And by saying we need to download the old patterns, the invitation I have to all of us, including myself, is to start reflecting on what was your thinking pattern before the pandemic? How were you processing your world? Through which lenses did you process your own world? Context could be work, context could be home. Another new context now is homeschooling. So how were you thinking about these things? And which of those thinking patterns are no longer relevant currently and going forward? And so I think the question around what does it mean then to be human came up because I was asking myself those questions. And one of the questions was, now that there's a lockdown, what does it mean for me? So I understand that there's a concern about others, about organizations, rightfully so, about the economy, about how the teams are going to adapt, about how we're going to reinvent ourselves and lead in the new world. But I suppose for me, the lockdown has brought a sense of awareness that I'm being locked down to self. I am being brought back to self. And the question I have is, what have you discovered about yourself during the lockdown? That's the first question. And that's because before we can even serve others, we have to completely understand ourselves first, or have a good grasp of who we are first. And so for me, when we're locked down and we're taught or told or regulated to go inside our homes, I took that to mean I have to go back inside me and kind of to understand what patterns did I have, thinking, emotional, behavioral patterns did I have or do I have that need to shift. And we're to a bigger extent busy with being busy, some of us. Now that the material things, the car is in the garage, the clothes are in the cabinet, the cash is in the ATMs and in the banks, we can't even access much of it anymore. Now that these external things that we're using to distract ourselves sometimes are no longer there, what is happening with this? Who is she? Because even for me to reinvent self, I have to understand who I am first. So the question on this slide that I have that I would like people to just respond to, I'll give it just 10 minutes, is to say, now that you've been locked down, you've been brought back to self, what have you discovered about yourself? That's question number one. Question number two is, which pattern did you have before the pandemic that is no longer going to be relevant for you during and after the pandemic? I hope I'm making sense. Did you guys get the question?
Hello, Ziyanda, Noma Pelo here again.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I discovered during the lockdown, because I was asking myself, what unique value now am I bringing back to the market? Because that's what's going to differentiate me. Because I realized I'm gonna have to reinvent myself. Showing up as what I was is not going to work in this new world. So I was thinking to myself, what is my unique value? And what came up for me was that my story is my unique value. So telling my story, is what differentiates me from others, because my stories are unique to others. So that's what came up for me, telling my story. That's my value.
Okay, got you. Thank you, Ramapelo. What has lockdown taught you about being human now that the distractions are no longer there? What are your reflections?
I see.
To change. Okay.
Zianda, can I just share what it's Bianca? I think initially, when I'm an HR consultant and a trainer, so work started getting cancelled from before lockdown. And I started thinking about people whose contracts had been terminated, people that had been put on short time. And I think I went into lockdown concerned about others, like how are people going to eat? Are people okay in my family? I need to conserve my income, not for my own family, but to be able to help others. I couldn't believe that that there's just such humanity around in our community where people have little, but they are giving towards food parcels for families just so that others can eat. So that really warmed my heart, because in the rest of the world, I was seeing bulk buying and hoarding. But in my world, I was just seeing, are you guys okay? Are you guys okay? Here's some money for some food parcels, because my husband does distribution of food parcels, and just little bits, 50 Rand, 120 Rand. And I was just very blessed by the South African spirit. We're very special, and that blessed me.
Thank you. Wow, thank you so much. Humanity. Come, guys. Hello.
I put my answer. I put my answer on the chat, but
Okay.
I think what came out strongly for me, which was removed by lockdown, is the actual contact with people, relationships.